weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. As we get into 2026, City of Clinton officials will be looking to continue the progress made on the strategic plan during 2025. In March of last year, Mayor Helen Michalossi was elected to the unfinished 2-year term of mayor and vowed to make the strategic plan her top priority. As we head into 2026, City Administrator Tony Harris, who began as the city's administrator 1 year ago, says a lot has been done, but there's still more to do.
In the plan was getting the records digitized and online permitting, things like that. So that's one step closer there. Also, a goal is identify locations for the fire department, city hall, and that's part of what I just talked about. So we're still working through that. Nothing concrete yet, but also part of that plan is a building inspector. And we did make progress there, and we're utilizing the building inspector now. And part of that goes along with what we just talked about with the property maintenance codes. But that part of that strategic plan talks about the maintenance codes, and we've updated those as well.
Harris admits that one of the goals of the strategic plan to have a location established for a new city hall, fire, and police station has not happened. There is a ripple effect of delays as no location has been chosen.
Part of the identifying the location for the fire department, police department, again, we thought we were going to have that done by, and that's already the goal's in there, but we've passed that deadline. So that's something obviously we've got to hold off until early 2025 for the location. Now, once if that's being delayed a little bit, some of the other parts that go along with that, like actually building the building, since we're delayed there, that's going to be delayed as well. So now, would that be building a new building for the fire department, police department, and the city hall? Will that happen next year? That's not going to happen. We would like it to, but that's a pretty lengthy process, with everything involved there. So that's not going to happen next year.
With so many high-dollar projects on the horizon, the city does not have the money to fund all of them. Harris indicates the search for grants and other ways to fund them is ongoing.
But I know the mayor, Helen, is working very actively. As a matter of fact, she just told me yesterday that she had a meeting with the state of Illinois on a lead on some funding. So that will that actually happen? We're not sure yet. But she's actively exploring funding, and we had a couple of meetings during the fall too, looking for funding. Nothing identified yet, but that is being worked on.
The city of Clinton meets for the first time in 2026 on Tuesday night. Coming up shortly on this expanded newscast, unseasonable highs and chances for rain return to forecast. Illinois has been in the national spotlight the past few months thanks to its legislative maps, particularly drawing criticism as states with Republican leadership discuss the potential of redrawing their legislative maps. Dr. Kent Redfield, a professor emeritus of political science at the University of Illinois Springfield, explains the 13th and 15th congressional district shapes and their political representation. The 15th district encompasses DeWitt and Logan counties, as well as parts of Piatt and Macon counties.
And, that's purely, the 13th is designed to elect a Democrat, and the 15th is what's left over. We got to have a certain number of people in the congressional district, and so you take people from one side of the 13th and people from the other side of the 13th, and put it into this district that Congressman Miller has. So that's, it's very, districts, what you want is legislative districts to make sense to the representative, the congressman, make sense to the people living in it, so that you've got a basis, you've got communities of interest.
The maps used for the General Assembly at the state level are also drawing attention. This includes the 48th Senate District, which covers parts of Sangamon, Christian, and Macon counties, and the districts surrounding the 48th.
You've got a part of Decatur and a part of Springfield in a district and in a Senate district, and that elects a Democrat. And you can argue, well, these are two urban areas, and they've got that in common. But you go back and you look at the history, and Decatur used to elect a Democrat, a district in Decatur used to elect a Democrat, by a district centered around the city of Decatur. Between 2000 and the 2010-12 election, that was kind of the culmination of a decade of Democrats not being able to elect a Democrat from Decatur. And so their solution was, well, we'll take the Democrats in Decatur and we'll connect them to the Democrats in Republican, and that'll give us a Democratic seat in the legislature.
According to Dr. Redfield, gerrymandering at any level is linked to lower turnout in elections, along with more extreme candidates on either side of the aisle being elected.
When you do gerrymander districts, they tend to be overwhelmingly one party or the other, so that the primary is the election, which pushes your candidates to the left or the right, and you tend to send more extreme people to Congress or to the state legislature. That's and when you get those situations, people don't they don't participate. All the decisions are made in the primary. You get to the general election, which a lot more people vote in, and you look and you've got a bunch of Democrats running opposed or a bunch of Republicans running unopposed, and so people they kind of I don't know these people. Nobody's representing me.
As for the individual voter in a gerrymandered district, Dr. Redfield says they may feel less connected to the legislator representing them.
Yeah, it's hard to know. You want to have communication and trust between the people in the district and the person that's representing. You want to believe that this representative knows my district. They are, quote unquote, one of us, and that's the basis for, a part of, bipartisan kind of compromise. If you've got communication and trust, but when you change the boundaries and create, these gerrymander is that comes from salamander, and that was the way somebody described a district in Massachusetts. People don't know their legislator.
The word gerrymander was coined in 1812 after Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry signed a bill redrawing state Senate districts to benefit his Democratic-Republican Party. One district in Essex County was caricatured as resembling a salamander, leading to the portmanteau gerrymander. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at bombchevybuick.com right from the start.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
News time is 18 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. We've survived the cold snap of the new year, and now signs are pointing towards a return to warmer temps. Mike Albano with the National Weather Service in Lincoln explains that this week will bring highs in the 50s. He says anytime we have unseasonable highs, with it often comes rain and the possibility for severe weather.
As we start to get into early next week, we flip the switch. It gets unseasonably warm. So I personally am looking forward to that. And it looks like our next meaningful chance for rain doesn't really occur until the middle to late stages of next week. Yeah, I think anytime you're dealing with temperatures in the 60s during the cold season, you're like, all right. And then you're like, oh no, because a lot of times it's one of the same there with the severe weather signal. And yeah, so we look for Thursday as that next chance. Temperatures are going to surge well into the mid 50s, if not close to 60 again by the middle of next week. And with that, some rain.
Warm temps brought tornadoes in central Illinois last week, and Albano is not ruling out the possibility of some severe storms coming at the end of this week.
Models really seem to struggle with the signal, 5 to 7 days out. But as we started to get into the 1 to 2 days ahead of the event, we started to see that signal take shape, and that squall line came, and it did. We had a good handful of tornadoes that we confirmed. And it's never fun. A lot of times, we'll get a squall line that will produce some tornadoes this time of year. It's warm ahead of the front. That front comes through, and then temperatures fall into the teens. And we have to go out and survey the damage. So it's never pleasant ever, but especially this time of year to survey damage in the wind and the cold with even some flurries. It's a challenge. Still a little bit of uncertainty on where the disturbance will ultimately kind of pivot across the central U.S. or if it's going to stay kind of down along the southern Mississippi Valley. But the point being, we are seeing another signal for some maybe strong storms as we get into the middle to late stages of next week.
Albano indicates that heavy rains running across frozen ground can lead to flooding at times, and adds that black ice can easily form as we return to the typical frigid temperatures of the winter season.
Yeah, a few things kind of rattle around the cage on, heavier precipitation events this time of year. A lot of times with the variability, so we'll get a stretch of Arctic weather, and we can get a frost depth, and then we can go right into this period of moderate to heavy rainfall. So for example, if whenever the soils are frozen and we get like an inch of rain on top of it, think that the soils can't really draw in any of that moisture, so it just kind of sits on top of it or runs off. We can actually get some pretty serious flooding this time of year. Just with the different swings in temperature. And if we do get a heavier slug of rain, sometimes it could be quite dangerous. And then, as you mentioned, anytime you go from kind of mild back to cold, we can get flash freezes. We can get black ice. So it's always a challenge to kind of message to the public. A lot of times we're also one of the windier parts of the country. So that a lot of times will mitigate the flash freezing. Those winds will kind of come and almost dry things out, which we've certainly seen that a few times this winter already during flash freeze setups. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into it.
Torrential downpours also do not do much in the way of relieving drought conditions in central Illinois during the winter. Albano says that while the surface layer of soil may thaw out and saturate during a short warm-up, lower soil levels are still too frozen this time of year to absorb rainwater.
Yeah, drought, the latest drought outlook, I'm looking at it here on my screen. They released it on Wednesday. So yeah, for a good portion of at least Logan County, Macon, DeWitt, Piatt, going into Champaign County, we're still under a severe to extreme drought, which kind of unusual this time of year. I was looking at the soil moisture, and it looks like with the late fall and early winter recharge, we've at least had some, the soils I would say are at least functionally moist, in that top 4 to 8 inches. We've seen some recharge or some improvement in some of those root zones. But the core, if you go down to like 20 inches, it is still abnormally dry. Some of the driest on record even. So even though we've seen some improvement in that top layer of soil, you go down about a meter, 20 inches even, and it is really, really dry. So hopefully we build on that and improve ahead of spring.
As we head towards the end of the month, Albano notes things will likely return to seasonable temperatures, but believes we may be in for a short winter. We'll have more on that in the days ahead from the Hart Media Group. Winter meeting season means the Illinois Association of Agricultural Fairs annual convention later this month. County fairs have deep roots, some history in David Grindle with the International Association of Fairs and Expos.
Well, the response is that the fair was and is and will always be about creating community. When we started our fair history, the first county fair in America was in Pennsylvania in 1766, I want to say, about 10 years before we were a country. And they're still going on, the York Fair in Pennsylvania. And we had those fairs because we wanted to bring community together. We wanted the farmers and the agriculture community to come together and share insight. One of the great proud moments in my family is my great-grandmother recording in our family Bible when my grandfather won the award for being the first farmer in the county to hit more than 100 bushels of corn for an acre. And that came through learning from other farmers, what they were doing for fertilizer, what they were doing in their planting season and crop rotation. And we learned that and showed that off with all of our agriculture elements. And then we started bringing the other elements of community together with arts and crafts and food. And it was about building community.
There are nearly 1,400 county fairs across the U.S. The Illinois Association of Ag Fairs, annual convention is January 16th through 18th in Springfield. For the first time in 10 years, Illinois State University football is heading to the FCS National Championship game. Based in Nashville, Tennessee, the unranked Redbirds face Montana State, ranked second in the country. However, the Redbirds had a tough path to get there, playing in 4 road playoff games across the country, traveling over 8,000 miles. But head coach Brock Spack says no matter how far the Birds travel, he's ready for the national championship game.
Yeah, I think this is a really good matchup. I think we match up pretty well in that both teams are big, physical. They run the ball well. Both teams are salty on defense. We're a different style of defense than they are. They're a 4-down team. We're not. We're a 3-4 team. But it's going to be they have good returners, punt returners, and a great punt returner, a good kickoff returner. And our cover teams are pretty good. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I think it's going to be a really good football game. Really good.
The Redbirds and Bobcats battle for the FCS National Championship on Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Now for your local obituaries. Kobe Durrell Reynolds, 27, of Decatur, Illinois, passed away at 12:35 a.m. December 26, 2025 in rural Clinton. Services for Kobe will be 1 p.m. Monday, January 5th at the Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton, with Pastor Jonathan Roberson officiating. Burial will follow at DeWitt Cemetery in DeWitt, Illinois. Visitation will be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday at the funeral home. Memorials may be directed to the Kobe Reynolds Memorial Fund, care of Amy Reynolds. Kevin L. Gilmore, 65, of Clinton, Illinois, passed away at 5:01 a.m. December 29th, 2025, at OSF St. Francis Medical Center in Peoria, Illinois. No services are planned at this time. The family entrusted Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton with cremation rights. Memorials may be directed to HOOAH Deer Hunt for Heroes. Glenna Arlene Sears Willis, 71, of Clinton, Illinois, passed away at 4:24 p.m. January 2nd, 2026, at her home in Clinton, Illinois. Arrangements are incomplete at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton. Online condolences may be made at calvertmemorial.com. Get news anytime from your computer or your mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWitt County's #1 source for news, sports, police blotter, obituaries, and more at DeWittDailyNews.com. Best of all, it's all free all the time, right at your fingertips. Once again, the URL, DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is Seth Lawrence, News and Program Director for WHOW and WEZC. We take pride in being Clinton and Central Illinois' local radio stations each and every day, 7 days a week. What does local news mean? Here's a sample.
So the vote last night changed that. So the next year, all of the kindergartners and all of the first graders will be at Lincoln School. And then all of the preschool students would be at Douglas.
The park is my main concern, to get security out there and surveillance out there.
We heard earlier this week that they have agreed to our last proposal that we did does just that. It gives them a fair wage.
You hear the local people that make the news every day, 7 days a week on the big 1520 AM, 92.3 FM, and 106.5 FM WHOW, and on your easy choice for soft hits, 95.9 FM WEZC.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. It seems Venezuela's acting president, former Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, has seen the light after a tirade against the U.S. over the raid that deposed dictator Nicolas Maduro. Now Rodriguez is offering to work with the U.S. The change of heart follows a stern warning from President Trump. Maduro and his wife, who have been indicted, slated to make their first court appearance today in New York. We'll be getting more data on the economy later today. Economist Steve Moore says he wouldn't be surprised to see more encouraging news, especially when it comes to jobs. Will Minnesota Governor Tim Walz throw in the towel in his reelection?
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. Javon Jackson had 20 points in Murray State's 86-66 victory over Bradley on Sunday. Jackson shot 7 of 10 from the field, including 2 for 3 from three-point range, and went 4 for 4 from the foul line for the Racers, who are now 13-3 and 5-0 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Mathis Corbin added 16 points while shooting 6 for 8, including 4 for 5 from beyond the arc. Frederick King had 11 points and shot 4 of 8 from the field and 3 of 3 from the free throw line. The Racers picked up their 9th straight win. The Braves go to 10-6 and 3-2 in the MVC. They were led by Ahmed Janovic and Demarion Birch, who each posted 13 points, respectively. Janovic also had 6 rebounds. Demarion Birch added 13 points for Bradley. Murray State took the lead for good with 6 minutes and 19 seconds left in the first half. The score was 50-32 at halftime, with J.J. Traynor racking up 10 points. Murray State outscored Bradley in the second half by 2 points, with Jackson scoring a team-high 13 points after the break. Jared Goff led 5 scoring drives. Jake Bates kicked a 42-yard field goal as time expired, and the Detroit Lions regrouped to beat the NFC North champion Chicago Bears 19-16 on Sunday after blowing a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter. The Bears fall to 11-6 and stumbled into the playoffs with back-to-back losses, though they secured the number 2 seed in the NFC with Washington beating Philadelphia. Chicago will host Green Bay in a wild card game on Saturday night and would have home field advantage in the divisional round if it beats the Packers. Williams threw 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes as the Bears wiped out a 16-0 deficit. The Lions, who improved to 9-8, started the final drive at their 37 after Chicago punted on a 4th and 5 at the 31. Detroit ended a disappointing season on a winning note when Bates nailed a 42-yarder. A 26-yard pass from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown helped set up the field goal, and Detroit came out on top after losing 3 in a row. Goff threw for 3 hunches after setting season highs with 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles, and matched one by getting sacked 5 times last week at Minnesota. St. Brown had 139 yards on 11 receptions. Gibbs ran for 80 yards and had a touchdown catch. Avonte Maddox intercepted Williams in the end zone in the third quarter. Williams threw for 212 yards, giving him 3,942 this season to surpass Eric Kramer's franchise mark of 3,838 in 1995. Colston Loveland caught 10 passes for 91 yards and a touchdown. Kevin Byard had his league-leading 7th interception. Chicago trailed 16-0 in the opening minute of the fourth quarter when Williams connected with Jade Walker for a 25-yard touchdown and broke Kramer's record. A 2-point conversion run by Kyle Monangai cut it to 16-8. After the Lions punted, Chicago went 88 yards down for a touchdown, with Williams finding Colston Loveland in the end zone from the 1. A lunging Cole Kmet then hauled in the 2-point conversion pass in a crowd, tying it at 16 and whipping the crowd into a frenzy. The Lions had the ball at the Chicago 35 when Goff attempted to zip a pass to St. Brown. The Bears' Jaquan Brisker tipped the ball, and Byard picked it off at the 5. The Lions start the offseason, while the Bears host Green Bay in a wild card game on Saturday night. J.J. McCarthy had a productive first half before he was injured again. Fullback C.J. Ham rushed for a short touchdown, and the Minnesota Vikings finished a frustrating season by beating the resting Green Bay Packers 16-3 on Sunday. The Packers are 9-7-1 and were locked into the number 7 seed in the NFC playoffs for the 3rd straight year with nothing to play for. They sidelined almost all their starters with season-ending injuries to several key players, including star pass rusher Micah Parsons, still top of mind, unconcerned by a 4-game losing streak that they will take into the playoffs. McCarthy, who went 14 for 23 for 182 yards, left early in the third quarter with soreness in his throwing hand. Backup Max Brosmer took it from there, helping Justin Jefferson reach the 100-yard mark for the first time in 12 games as the 9-8 Vikings coasted to a 5th consecutive victory. Jefferson secured his 6th straight 1,000-yard season, only the 3rd receiver in NFL history to accomplish that feat. The Packers gave Clayton Tune his 2nd career start at quarterback and netted -7 passing yards. Dallas Turner had 2 of Minnesota's 4 sacks that racked up 41 lost yards for Green Bay. Tune went 6 for 11 for 34 yards, with LaFleur sending Daniel Whelan out to punt on Green Bay's first 8 possessions, excluding a kneel down to end the first half. LaFleur called a timeout with 1 second left from the 5-yard line so Brandon McManus could spoil the shutout with a short field goal. The Packers play in the wild card round next weekend at the number 2 seed Chicago Bears. The Vikings must clear space under the salary cap and improve their depth at quarterback on the offensive line and at cornerback. They'll have either the 17th or 18th pick in the first round. Tyler Bertuzzi scored at 1 minute and 18 seconds of overtime for his 2nd hat trick of the season and 5th in the NHL to give the Chicago Blackhawks a 3-2 victory over the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday night. Arvid Soderblom made 13 saves to help Chicago win its 3rd straight game and 4th in 6 games. The Blackhawks extended Vegas's losing streak to 6. Ila Mikev set up the winner with a pinpoint pass, and Bertuzzi directed it in past goalie Akira Schmid. Bertuzzi's second goal from the right crease with 8 minutes and 24 seconds left tied it at 2, and Vegas, which dominated early, could muster only 2 shots the rest of the way. Mark Stone and Brendan Saad scored for Vegas. Stone had his 4th goal in 4 games to give Vegas a 2-1 lead 42 seconds into the second period. Schmid stopped 17 shots, highlighted by close-in saves on Artem Leshinov and Ryan Green in the third period before Bertuzzi tied it. The Golden Knights are at Winnipeg on Tuesday night. The Blackhawks host St. Louis on Wednesday night. The Clinton Lady Maroons had no issues handling the Riverton Lady Hawks and rolled to a 72-11 victory in non-conference high school girls basketball action on Saturday in Clinton. Clinton held Riverton to just 2 points in the first half while they ran away with the game to make the score 40-2 going into the third quarter. Coach Josh Williams would keep the Clinton starters in through the third, making it 64-6 before he cleared the bench going into the final frame. Clinton was led by Clara Dempsey, who scored 19 points. Carly Anderson had 16, 12 of which came from distance. Avery Smith added 13 points, while Ozzie Gore scored 10 in a breakout performance. The Lady Hawks were led by Brianna Walker, who scored 4 points, and Skylar Stokes had 3. With the win, Clinton improves to 13-4, while Riverton falls to 1-17. Tune in tonight when the Lady Maroons play host to the El Paso Gridley Lady Titans. Hear all the action on WHOW and all its digital platforms. Tip-off is at 7:15 p.m. David Mirkovic had 13 points and 10 rebounds, and Kylan Boswell scored 18 points to lead the number 20 Illinois Fighting Illini to a 73-65 win over the Penn State Nittany Lions on Saturday night at the Palestra in Philadelphia. Keaton Wagler scored 16 points, and Zvonimir Izvich added 5 blocked shots for the Illini, who improved to 11-3 and 2-1 in the Big Ten in the first of a 12-day stretch in which they play 3 of 4 conference opponents on the road. Caden Mingo scored 16 points for Penn State, which is trying to end a 2-year run of missing the NCAA tournament. Penn State is 9-5 and 0-3 in the Big Ten. They tried to pull off the win with a long ball, but missed 30 of 38 three-point attempts and had every small run derailed by wildly off-target shots. Nittany Lions fans that filled the bulk of the Palestra bleachers roared when Tibor Mirtic scored a layup that made it 57-49 and briefly put a threat of an upset within reach. Mingo hit a late 3 that made it 73-63. The Illini, who already lost 1 conference game to Nebraska this season, rolled to their 5th win in the last 6 games and 4th straight overall on the road, in large part due to a decisive edge on the boards, 48-37, and at the free throw line. Illinois shot 23 for 28 from the line. Penn State was 9 for 14. Illinois hosts Rutgers on Thursday, while Penn State hosts the number 2 Michigan Wolverines on Tuesday. Mattis Danusas had 19 points in UT Martin's 65-61 win over Eastern Illinois on Saturday. Danusas had 9 rebounds for the Skyhawks, who improved to 11-4 and 3-1 in the Ohio Valley Conference. Afan Turnka and Pedro Santos each finished with 11 points. Zion Fruster finished with 17 points, 4 assists, and 2 steals for the Panthers, who fall to 4-10 and 1-3 in the OVC. Cooper Jacoby added 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals for Eastern Illinois. Michi White also recorded 12 points and 5 steals. Miles Bridges had 26 points and 14 rebounds, helping the Charlotte Hornets beat the Chicago Bulls 112-99 on Saturday night. Brendan Miller scored 22 points for Charlotte, and Con Neppel finished with 18. LaMelo Ball added 17 points and 7 assists. The Hornets had lost 3 straight and 5 of 7. They improved to 5-2 on the second day of back-to-back games. Nikola Vucevic had 28 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds for Chicago, which had won 2 in a row and 7 of 9 overall. Mattis Buzelis scored 17 points. The Bulls closed out a 3-3 homestand after they beat the Magic 121-114 on Friday night. Charlotte trailed by 15 before moving in front with a big third quarter, outscoring Chicago 32-17 in the period. Miller made 3 of the Hornets' 7 3-pointers in the third, and the Bulls shot 21.7%, 5 for 23 from the field in the quarter. Miller's 3 made it 82-73 with 49.3 seconds left, but Ayo Dosunmu's driving layup trimmed Chicago's deficit to 7 going into the fourth. The Hornets pulled away with a 10-0 run in the final period. Miller capped the decisive stretch with a fadeaway jumper that made it 105-87 with 4 minutes and 1 second left. Charlotte out-rebounded Chicago 52-43 while playing a depleted front court. The Bulls had a 58-50 lead at the break. Dosunmu scored 14 points in the first half, going 6 for 7 shooting, including a half-court buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. The Hornets are at Oklahoma City on Monday. The Bulls are at Boston on Monday night. Get highlights of your local high school program anytime by finding IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media platforms, and get local sports anytime at